Good morning, Patriots. JT here, Serenity Farms, prepping with some urgent news from a reliable source who, unfortunately, I can't mention because he's been banned from all social media platforms, and his name would get this video banned before the information gets out there. This person is extremely reliable, has provided very good intel several times before, has his own channel, his own network actually, and his sources are extremely reliable and deep connected. So I don't do red alerts and clickbait and all that stuff in my titles, but this one is urgent. And actually, I mentioned this a couple months ago, but there's a little catch to it now. So if you saw my video, which I'll link, about Chinese invasion, well, it's going to be a backdoor invasion. So what is being planned right now by the opposition party, the regime, as we know, I've said several times, I do not believe they are going to let the elections take place. It's over if they do. Now, combine what we saw a couple weeks ago in Florida and why they did that. By now, you are all fully aware that that was a bullshit attempt to go in and find something, and it wasn't negligees and panties. Rumor intel says that 45 and his team still have the football, which is very, very likely a wonderful thing, because without those codes, the demons can't do what they were planning. So intel says that's what they were looking for. They need them because they need, as I've said before, to nuke a libtard cesspool shithole city or a extremely conservative city. And of course they were going to blame it on the Ruskies, but if they do a libtard city, they'll blame it on conservatives. And if they do a conservative city, they'll blame it on conservatives or the Russians. But what they're planning, and we've heard this from certain people, is 17's gonna be indicted and arrested. Odds are good that's going to come early to mid-October. They're going to make a big deal of it, as you can imagine, all in an attempt to get us, the Patriots, to become the Democrat-funded and supported terrorists that we saw in the Summer of Love, with the rioting, looting, assaulting, burning, murdering, and not a single arrest. Or if there was one, Camaho actually had them bailed out. But no raids, no attempts at impeachments, not a word from the fake news of the Democrats about all that was happening, except encouragement and support, and actually inciting them to do more. So they figure if they do a perp walk with Trump, that it doesn't matter if actual patriots take to the streets. They will be in the streets. We've already been told they will be dressed as Trump supporters, wearing the full regalia, just red hats, American flags, and their faces will be covered, which patriots don't do. But they can't be identified when they're mixing and mingling, because there will be people in the streets. We will take to the streets, but very, very likely not the way Democrats do. So, when these riots, lootings, burnings, there may even be a mass casualty event by a hospital, a school, Planned Parenthood, all the things that libtards hold so near and dear to their hearts. So, with the onset of this fall of love perpetrated by the Democrats, they will call for martial law lockdowns. They may even throw a little pandemic scare shit in there also to try and double down on the lockdowns. As they start to lock down, they're going to declare an emergency that they can't handle. And they're going to call for the UN to bring in assistance, blue helmets. These UN scumbags will very likely be the CCP, chicom soldiers, under the guise of being UN humanitarian aid workers. While the chicom soldiers are being positioned all around the U.S. under the guise of humanitarian aid, their ships will very likely be steaming towards the West Coast, where several treasonous Democrat governors over there will gladly let them dock, because these governors have been bought and paid for, and for some reason still believe a promise of a seat at the high table if there was a complete takeover. Now, along with this is going to be a several month grid down situation with no power. Not coincidentally, during the dark winter that we've so oft heard about. Obviously, cutting power, aka heat, electricity, no fuel, the food starvation that's coming, this will be a maximum scare casualty event. So, this source is recommending everyone at least 4 months worth of food, water, medicine, ammo, supplies. If you're not out of a cesspool city, God love you. You've been warned. Now, it is also being stated that there are still many, many white hats within all factions of the regime, and they are trying to control the entire situation as best as possible, and have to date stopped a lot of similar type scenarios from happening. It is being said that within 3 or 4 months after an indictment and arrest, that it will become blatantly clear Trump will be exonerated and will move from there with whatever's left. Now, the little caveat to this is, if, according to the source, if 45 is not indicted and arrested and or, then the white hats have taken control, and while no guarantee the elections will likely happen and we'll move from there, that doesn't mean there still isn't going to be some type of event. But you must prepare. www.storagechef.com, SFP15. I think you need to go for the big package, the $4.99, a year's worth, because a year's worth for one is 4 months for 3 or 3 months for 4. Get whatever you can afford, get it wherever you want. But water is going to be critical, especially for people in municipalities. There's going to be no running water, no sewer, no electric, no heat. Okay, now, we need to add, if you have the ability to help someone else out without shorting yourself, or even more importantly, putting yourself in harm's way, because people are going to react just like you would expect them to, that did not prepare because they don't believe anything that we try and tell them. Especially your libtard cesspool shitholes. Once you try and help someone out, you know how that goes. They come back, then someone else comes back. So you know, if you live out in the deep country like I do, and you've got enough to share, or just help get someone through, they're going to be more than happy to pitch in and do things to earn that life-saving food, water, and maybe just even a warm place to sleep. All right, now, according to some health organizations, the average person uses almost 100 gallons of water a day. Between toilet flushes, a shower is almost half of that. And then everyone needs to drink at least a gallon, and there needs to be some for cooking and other things. All right, we can get by with 2 or 3 gallons a day if you have to, and that's going to be a lot. You are going to conserve. You're not going to die of dehydration. But if you can start really saving up that water and saving up a way to filter it, boiling is always a good option, even when you filter your water. Remember, the WHO and all those other scumbags came out. Now they're trying to say that rainwater is tainted, blah, 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 blah. While that may be true a little bit, it's still way better than municipal water. I filter mine, and when in doubt, I have my own well. When in doubt, I boil. Obviously, I don't get boil orders like cities and towns and municipalities do. But, folks, pay attention to what is going on. Listen, as much as it upsets your stomach, to the rhetoric of the Democrats for the next couple months as closely as you can. They and the fake news media, aka Democrats, are going to give us a very good indication, because they are going to want any pending arrest or indictment to be like the Oscars and the Emmys. They're going to try and make this the biggest production ever seen to mankind, because they're going to try and get us A, completely despondent, giving up all hope, and B, to riot, loot, burn, assault. We cannot go for that. Somewhere down the road, we'll have to do what needs to be done. So please pay attention. I will give you updates as I get them. This was just revealed yesterday, so I'm getting it to you today as soon as I can. Good luck. God bless to all. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Let's hope we get to keep doing this. But for now, JT, signing out.